Good morning, students. I hope you all are well. So, today we'll start our new chapter, that is chapter number 10. And in this chapter, we will discuss about first thing is about transparent, translucent, and opaque object. And next, we will discuss about the shadow. Then, after the moon, and the last, we will discuss about the eclipses. And in this, we will discuss about the two types of eclipses, solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. So, student, the first thing is given about the as we have already heard about this luminous and the non-luminous object. That luminous object are the object that give out light are called luminous object, whereas the object that do not give out light are known as non-luminous object. And in your book there is a table is given in which you have to write the names of some luminous object and some non-luminous object. And luminous objects are again classified into two types: natural luminous object and the artificial luminous object. So in this, sun is an example of natural luminous object. If we see the glowworm, that is also an example of natural. Then firefly is also an example of natural luminous object. But if we see the lamp, candle, torch, these are the examples of artificial luminous object. Then after this there is a transparent, translucent, and the opaque object. So student, we know that light help us to see all the objects which are present around us. So the diagram is also given in your book. The object depend the amount of light that the object allow to pass through them. On the basis of this, the objects are classified into three categories: transparent, translucent, and the opaque. So what are transparent object, what are translucent object, and what are opaque object? So transparent object are the object that allow complete light to pass through them, like the clear water, air, and the glass are also the example of transparent object. Next, second is the translucent object. Translucent object are those objects that allow only some amount of light to pass through them, and we can see partially through these objects, like butter paper, frosted glass are the examples of translucent object. And the third one is the opaque object. Opaque object are those objects that do not allow light to pass through them, are known as opaque object. So after this there is a see the definitions are given. The material that allow light pass completely through it are known as transparent object. We can see through transparent object. Examples of transparent objects are clear glass, clear water, and clear plastic. After this, there is an object that do not allow light to pass through them are known as opaque objects, and we cannot see through the opaque objects. And the examples of these are wood, book, bag, pencil, all are the examples of opaque object. You can also write wall, that is also an example of opaque object. Stone, brick. Then third category is of the translucent object, and these objects allow a small amount of light to pass through them, or they allow light pass through them partially. They are known as translucent object. An example, if we talk about them, are known as butter paper, frosted glass, and certain polythene bags are also the examples of translucent object. Next, after this, student, fact zone is given in which it is written a lanternfish has a number of spots that give out light. There are number of spots, large number of spots are present on a lanternfish that gives out light. Mirror is not a transparent object because we cannot see object on other side. We can see only image clearly. We can see the image clearly, but we cannot see the object on the other side of the mirror. So next, after this, there is an activity is given that shows light travels in a straight line. So in this, case 1 and case 2 are given, in which a candle is lighted and it is put on a table. So in case 1, a student or a child took a straight hollow pipe through which he was watching the candle, and in case 2 he bent that rod, that hollow pipe, and he again tried to see that candle. But after that there is a question is asked, you were able to see the candle in case 1 or in case 2. So if we perform this activity, we will able to see the candle only in condition 1, in case 1, because the light travels in a straight line, and this property is known as rectilinear propagation of light. After that, we can see an object when light from a luminous source or a luminous object falls on the object and the reflected light enters in our eye. Then only we can see the object which are present around us. And if we talk about it, the sun is the main source of light and energy on the earth, and the moon is the satellite of the earth that does not have its own light, and it shines because it reflects the light of sun that falls on it. So after this, time to recall are given in at next page, and I have already filled the answers. So the first one is the sun is a natural source of light. It is a luminous object. Next is a table and chair are non-luminous object because they do not emit light, they do not give out light. Next is light travels in a dash line. So we have discussed that light always travel in a straight line, and after this there is a light cannot pass through dash objects. So we have discussed that it cannot pass through opaque objects. And the last one is dash object emit their own light. So the luminous object have their own light and they emit the light. So after that we will discuss about the new topic, that is the shadow. And a student shadow is formed when the source of light is blocked by any opaque object, or a shadow is the dark patch that is formed when a path of light is blocked by any object, and it may be blocked by a translucent object or by a opaque object, because we discussed that transparent object allow light to pass through them completely, so they do not form any type of shadow. So let's see how a shadow is formed. डिस्कस करेंगे कि कैसे shadow form होती है. So we would observe that opaque cardboard sheet does not allow light to pass through it, and it forms a clear dark shadow on the screen, where a translucent tracing sheet forms a lighter shadow as it partially blocks the light. So the shadow can be formed only by the translucent object and only by the opaque object. After that, a shadow is dark region formed by a opaque or a translucent object. And what are the things required to form a shadow? A light source is necessary, a translucent or a opaque object, and a screen where the shadow will be formed. Next, student, what are the characteristics of shadow? What are the special features of shadow? So first thing is, shadow is always formed on opposite side of the light source. If the light source is present in the east direction, the shadow will be formed in the west direction. And if the light source is present in the west direction, the shadow will be formed in the east direction. So shadow will be formed always in the opposite direction of the light source. So during the sunrise time, the shadow will be formed in west direction, and during the time of sunset, the shadow will be formed in east direction. So a shadow is always dark. It is always of dark color. It does not depend on the color of the object. It doesn't matter what is the color of object. It may be white, it is blue, red, doesn't mean. The shadow will be always dark in color. Next is, a shadow shows only the outline of the shape of the object and not the details. It does not give any detailed idea of the object. It gives the only outline of the object. Next is, the size of shadow depends on the distance between the light source and the object, and also on distance of the screen from the object. So when the source of light is closer to the object, then the shadow will be big in size, and if the source of light is away from the object, then the shadow will be smaller in size. So next is when the source of light is far from the object or the screen is close to the object, the shadow is small. The shadow of object is longest during the morning and the evening time and shortest during the noon. This is because the rays of sun are slanted during the morning and evening and above the head at the noon time. So the shape of a shadow depends on from where the light is falling from. So as we have already discussed the fact zone, as the sun moves westward, the direction of the shadow will be in eastward, and in winter the shadow formed by the sun is longer due to the angle of the sun. So student, today we have discussed about the luminous, non-luminous object, then after the transparent, translucent on the opaque object, and after that we have discussed about the shadow, how the shadow is formed and what are the special properties of the shadow. So student, this is all about your today's class, and in next class we will discuss about the eclipses and about the moon. Thank you and have a nice day.